Yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, yo, this is for you. I am my number one fan. For you, I am my number one fan. I'm trying to get you from here to there. I'm trying to show niggas it ain't fair. How I just came up, but you not there. Stuck in the same situation you been in. They got the plug, you got the sound. You not just a groupie that's hanging around. They got the stage, but you bring the lights. It's enough room at the top, we ain't gotta fight. I am my number one fan. I am that legend you stand for. When the crowds disperse, we'll see what you stand for.
This is
the Neighbors Podcast.
He's Reese.
He's Arnold.
Listen to us on
iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and YouTube.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And y'all can listen to us daily.
Every day. Yeah, here we go again. It's us again. He's Reese.
And that's Arnold.
Yeah, we back. It's the Neighbors Podcast, y'all.
You know it's going down. We thank y'all for coming back to us.
Yes, we very appreciate that.
Sure
and thanks
enough.
for all the likes and everything and all the subscribes.
Right.
And all the repeats and all the likes and the shares.
And everything. All the above.
All the above.
You know, just make sure y'all continue to look us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yes.
At Neighbors Podcast.
Yes.
And you know what? We're going to make this a movement.
That's right.
This is going to be a movement.
And they're going to just be here. It's going to be in every neighborhood we can think about. Join this.
Right. Again, positivity and love spread through everybody.
Exactly.
And everywhere.
Exactly.
But you know what? Let's get right into it today.
Let's jump right into it, So listen, we want to talk about this real quick because a lot of times when you're growing up and your parents ask you, do you want to go to college? Or do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? A lot of people do choose the military as a career to make ends meet.
Right. So we want to know what y'all feel about that real quick. Ponder over that for a second.
Time's up.
So let me tell y'all. My family was a very military type family.
Mm-hmm.
Both of my mother's brothers went into the military.
Mm-hmm.
They were both in there for over 20 years. One was full active, one was in reserves.
Mm-hmm.
My father and father-in-law both served in Vietnam War. So and my father, he was on the ground. He was doing hand-to-hand type stuff.
Okay.
So my outlook on the military was not necessarily a positive one.
Right.
Because I felt like the military tore apart my family.
Right.
So I'm going to start from just my home life. My father, because of everything that was going on over there and all that type of stuff with drugs and everything else, when he had come back, he was kind of off. Mm-hmm. And there were some major things that happened in the house that I remember as a kid. That I was like, yo, the military does that. I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
Then I had my mom's youngest brother. He's only 9 years older than I am.
Right.
So he's more of a big brother than he is an uncle, for real. But I was in middle school, and I'm so used to him being around. The next thing you know, he goes off into the military. But he was already in college. He was already working a job, all that type of stuff. And then he decided to go into the military. So unfortunately, my thought of the military is like, it breaks your family apart. So my thought was never a positive one about the military.
Right.
And I do have a son at this moment, that I haven't. We've talked about the military. I understand some of the pros and cons of part of the military. With me never being in the military, mm-hmm. I don't know all the ins and outs, you get what I mean? But as far as, some other little nuances of like the GI Bills and things like that, like, you get other things. But, for me to have to go through and see some family members, like cousins and everything else, do hardship tours and things like that. Like when they come back, like they ain't right.
Right.
Sometimes, so, so that the whole thought of military for me is not necessarily a positive one when it really come down to it.
So I can see that, and I can relate to that. Coming from the experience of being in the military myself earlier, which you probably didn't know about this, but I don't usually never talk about it too much because it was I didn't do a lot of active duty time.
Okay.
I did a lot of reserve duty time.
Okay.
And at that time when I went in, it was in the 80s. So I went in because I had a choice. I was either going to go to prison or, I went. My grandma was like, "Yo, go sign up. Go see the recruiter."
Yeah.
And sign up. So when I went to court with my dress greens on.
Wow. Okay.
So the judge was like, "Oh, you're in the military now?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Well, you're trying to turn your life around."
Yeah.
Little did he know that didn't mean nothing at that particular time of my life,
Got you.
But I can also relate on the other side because my stepfather, he was also in Nam, and he used to tell me stories about the different things that the guys would go through at boot. I don't know if any of you guys that are listening know anything about Camp Lejeune. Well, that and Paris Islands are one of the top breeding grounds for Marines.
Okay.
So they were doing experiments and stuff on those guys back then.
Wow.
And also when they went over to Nam, when they dropped the bombs and stuff, they were being sprayed with the Agent Orange.
Right.
So a lot of guys, like you said, guys like your father came back with a habit. A lot of guys came back with habits. A lot of guys came back with mental issues.
Really?
A lot of guys came back with psychotic issues and just things that they couldn't deal with. And then the government wasn't taking care of these guys when they first came home.
Right.
You went over there and you fought. You did what you had to do. You came back home. You got a pat on the back, and that was it.
Yeah.
So you spent the rest of your life, worrying about Charlie. Well, Charlie was the Viet Cong.
Right.
So I experienced that with my stepfather, whereas that he would have the nightmares of things that was going on while he was over there.
Okay.
And he brought that home with him because he used to scream in the middle of the night, and thank God that he worked it out. Everything now's worked out.
Okay.
But when I was younger, he used to jump up. He used to, they used to call his brothers and them used to call him Cuckoo Man.
Okay.
Because everybody thought he was cuckoo, but he wasn't really cuckoo though.
Yeah.
It's just that they did something to him mentally. It took a toll on him over there. And I guess it would take a toll on you to go over and experience war.
Right.
To experience death at that level.
Right.
At that particular time, we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s, So, we was raised that, the military wasn't out for you.
Right.
So, by the particular time that I went in, like I say, I went in because of, it was either going to jail or going in the military.
Right.
So, I ended up going in the military. That didn't help because later on I ended up going to jail later on anyway for some other stuff.
Okay.
Years later, but, that still didn't help me out. But you could make the military, people make careers out of them.
Yes, they do.
And they do make things, they become very productive, and it is good as long as you stay in the military. Mm-hmm. But what you see today is that when these guys are coming out of the military, that there's nothing going on for these guys. There's no jobs, there's no housing, there's no income, no money coming for these guys. So these guys are having a uphill battle of fighting. They might lose a limb or whatever, and then you got to fight the government to get help.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't have to do that because these guys, they fought. Some of them died for this country, so you got to give them the utmost respect as you can. So like I said, with me, it was a little different story. I stayed stateside. I stayed in the reserve for a few years. And that was it because I was a weekend warrior. I didn't go nowhere.
Okay.
Okay. I did my boot one place. I did my AIT at another place. Okay. And then I came home after about maybe 8 months of active duty. And then I came home and then I did reserve duty for a few years. Okay. By that time, different things were happening in the streets.
Right.
So I got involved in that.
Right.
I was still doing the reserve every now and then.
Yeah.
But that was just something to do.
Yeah.
To get a little check in every now and then. But I also agree with you that in this particular day and age and time, should you use the military as a means to meet all means, as a means to because you do have the GI Bill,
right?
If you qualify for it, you do have a lot of different opportunities if you qualify for them.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot. You just don't automatically get that because you served.
Yeah.
You really got to go through a lot of red tape to get this stuff. So yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want to be in the service.
Right.
And then in today's world, do you really want to fight a war right now?
And see, that's the thing, because of, when you hear people talk about the military, and how, like you said, how you mentioned how the troops are treated even when they come home. Like you said, losing a limb, an eye, things not right mentally because of some of the things that y'all have to go through.
Right.
Even like you said, even just with you being stateside, right? What type of training do you have to go through? Just to get through boot or anything else.
Would you,
mentally?
From my experience, okay. So I did my boot at, we call it Fort Lost in the Woods. It was Fort Leonard Wood. It's out in Missouri.
Okay.
So you go through your regular boot training.
Mm-hmm.
You learn how to shoot the M16. You learn how to throw the grenades. You learn how to do everything that's inside your smart book. You learn everything that you need to know to survive out there if you go to war.
Right.
My MOS, which is your primary occupational status, was 63 Hotel, which was track vehicle repair. So basically, I was just nothing but a mechanic.
Okay.
I worked on tanks.
Okay.
And at that time, the biggest tank that was out there was the M1 Abram.
Okay.
So that was the hottest tank out there. Also, at this particular time, we were on watch for Gaddafi at that time.
Ah, yeah.
So
yeah,
every base was on high alert and all this stuff. So once I got back and got home, it was like nothing to me now.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not knocking anybody that serve. I don't never really talk about my service because understanding certain things about America and about the way America is, I don't glorify a lot of things, but I have a lot of respect for these guys that go and do fight these wars.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, these are things that the military is all that some people have.
Right. You're right.
They're coming out of poverty. They're coming out of maybe an abusive family.
Yeah.
They might be coming out of whatever, and the military helps them out. They may have been bullied, and the military gives them discipline. It gives them some type of structure, and it helps them out in the long run, especially if they continue on with a career.
Yeah.
So it is some good things about the military, but coming from the way that the government's run and the way things are, do we really need to have fought a lot of those wars? Was a lot of those wars really worth it?
So, for an example, with me, I was in high school when Desert Storm was going on, right? So I had some friends that straight from high school was, going over there or they were, or Desert Storm had pretty much just ended, and, we had to still fill out those selective service forms at that time, too. So my fear was as soon as I signed it, I'm like, yo, am I going to get drafted?
Yeah, right.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, they said they're not going to do drafts anymore, but are they going to draft me?
But you never know because, listen, once you're registered on a selective service, you are eligible for if they do decide to bring the draft back.
Right.
You're automatically eligible. And if you look at other, not to cut you off, but if you look at other countries, China, Russia, and other European countries, every child usually has to go through their military.
Yeah.
To have that experience of being in that military because that's servitude to your country.
Right.
So with that, I do agree that, you do need to serve your country because this is your country. But in the same token, why would you want to serve a country that doesn't care about you?
And see, I think that's part of our thing as colors, people of color.
People of color.
That unfortunately we don't get the support. Now that does not mean that people that are not that are Caucasian get any better treatment being in the military either. I'm not, don't get me wrong on that too.
They get dog too.
But just overall, they just because of what they look like and how they are, they might get treated better